If you are a businessman who have at least 15 people in your business outside of the United States of America, you may qualify for this visa, come here in the US, work, live, bring your family, and ultimately get a green card. So make yourself comfortable, we're going to begin. So L-1 visa is the visa that originated back in 60s, where big car dealership, big car manufacturers outside of the US, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, and other big companies wanted to bring the operations here in the United States of America and bring the executives and managers to start the new operations, to bring a lot of investment, create a job. So this visa was created. Later on, attorneys like me started using this visa for smaller and mid-sized businesses, and of course did not mention any big corporations. It only had requirements. So at this point, the requirements are as follows. You must have the company outside of the United States of America where you work at least a year. And usually, not always, but many times, the person who is being transferred from the foreign company to the US is also an owner. So if you're the owner of that company and you're also an employee of the company, a CEO, CTO, some executive position, top manager, if it's a bigger company, you will be able to transfer yourself in your new American enterprise, or if you purchase an existing business. We'll talk about it later. You could be the owner and wanting to transfer one of your employees whom you trust and who's going to do a great job in the US, or you might be just an employee without the owning the company, but the owner of the company also owns the company in the US, and then you can arrange your transfer here in the United States of America. So L-1 visa is for a person who worked in a company outside of the US in an executive or managerial position for at least 1 year. Stanislav, I heard about L1B. It's for a person with unique skills, unique understanding of the business. Yes, there is L1B, but we are not going to talk about L1B in this video because then we're going to spend an hour. You know, I don't want to spend an hour. It's too much for you and for me. So we'll be talking about managers and executives. Further, you have to be a manager or executive. Who is a manager or executive? Who controls and directs other managing personnel who also in turn manages other people. So in other words, imagine this triangle where you at the top of this triangle, there are people who are the managers who you control, and those managers manage the people who are at the bottom of this triangle. At least you have to have 15 people under your command, under your control. Out of those 15 people, at least 3 to 4 people have to be in a managing position. It's very, very important. You manage the managers, and managers manage someone else. And all these people who are under your control are 15 people plus. There are certain exceptions. There could be less than 15 people, but from my experience and the dozens and dozens cases that I filed, I can tell you that less than 15 people is really hard, unless there's certain exceptions when we have a functional manager, or again, it's L1B. We're not going to talk about those very narrow exceptions. So if you've been in this position for over a year, managing the managers, and the managers manage other people, you will qualify to be transferred in the United States of America in the startup business or an existing business. Let's start with the startup business. What are the advantages and disadvantages, and what's the process? So the startup business is any company in the United States of America which has been operational for less than a year. Really important concept. It's not the company that has been open for more than a year. It's the company that has not been operational for more than a year, right? So an operational meaning doing regular business, buying, selling, consulting, whatever a business does. Anything less than a year is going to be a new office, a new startup business. In this case, all we need to show is that there is an open and registered company in the US. There is an office space where the company is going to be operating from, and the office should be as big as to have a capacity to get all the employees at the end of year 1 of operations after visa is approved. So again, the size of the office should be enough to have all the people who is going to be working in that office at the end of year number 1, including yourself. Then we should have a business plan, and we need to have a bunch of description papers that's going to describe the positions, your position, the company's operations, the location of the company is located, why this location was chosen, the structure of the company, and a bunch of other stuff. And a bunch of other paperwork that needs to be filed with the L-1 petition. Stanislav, how many people I need to hire at the end of year 1 so I get an extension of visa for 2 more years? Because remember, the new office, startup business, gets 1-year visa with the 2-year extensions up to 7 years. So the minimum amount of people you need to hire is 5 people, out of which 1 or 2 must be also managers. So again, remember that a triangle we spoke in the beginning of the video, that triangle should be start realizing in the US. So end of year 1, it must be you, it must be 1 or 2 managers who manage 3 or 4 people under them. In that case, we will be able to show that you are actually an executive or the manager of this company. At the end of year 3, when we need to extend your company for another 2-year term, you must have at least 8 people working in the company with 2 or 3 managers whom you manage and who manage 4 to 5 other people. So again, we're recreating this pyramid, this triangle, whatever you call it, to show that you are the top manager or executive of this company. Now, if you're buying an existing business or the American company has been in operation for more than a year, that company has to have at least 8 people to begin with for us to be able to show that this company will be able to support your position as an executive or the manager of the company. Any additional person you might want to transfer from your foreign company to the US company must also get an additional 8 people to manage or control. And again, this is just a general description of a visa. Of course, there are certain exceptions. We can find different ways to do this. Maybe it's less people, maybe it's more people, but again,